Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome back to another one-on-one. This time, I'm talking to Bill, from Paint Minis Live. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, Shadow?
Another day in paradise.
There you go.
Mac, Brian, welcome to the show, guys. I expect some more folks in here from both of our channels to come in, and I'll try and keep up with you guys. Unlike last night where you guys are just killing me in the chat. It was crazy last night. It was awesome. It was freaking awesome. Even though there were other people, doing shows. And that's one thing I will ask is if, when you're a little more into it, you try to, not step on anybody's toes. It's going to be hard, and if you're going to do it, and somebody's doing a show, say, sorry, man, you do it either earlier or later. But, invariably, there's going to be somebody on. Hopefully right now we're not doing any stepping on any of the toes. But, yeah, I know, right? Brian says not possible. And apparently you sent a song over to Brian.
Oh, I sure did. I sent him a little intro song and video kind of thing that I put together. I did all right. I'm hoping to get some feedback from him to see if we can make it a little bit more weirder and a little bit more World War II for him.
I can't wait to freaking hear it. I honestly can.
I'll send you a copy after the show.
Yeah, just do him a favor and write him up an email or something to say this is yours, so that YouTube doesn't get weird about it, which they've never done with me. And I've got the documentation or whatever. I'm not going to go copyright it right now, but I probably should. It's so awesome. So for those of you out there who don't know Bill, Bill, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Bill T. I run the channel Paint Minis Live, as Shadow said. Paint Minis Live is a channel that's dedicated to, just that. Live mini painting. There's no edits. I usually put on some copyright-free music in the background, and I'll paint, and I like to, talk with the community that Paint Minis Live has kind of cross-pollinated with all of these really cool other communities. But I like to call them the Paint Minis Live live chat lounge cats. So the cats all show up, and we like to talk about all things between video games, role-playing games, painting techniques, some general life stuff here and there. It's pretty light. Something that is a good place to go if you're coming off of work and you just want to kick up your feet to something that's not so kind of thriller based. I see a lot of TV shows that are like super edgy or whatever, kind of that if you've ever watched a cooking show on Cooking Network or whatever, where it's always that really tight kind of thriller feel. This is the exact opposite. I kind of try and take the Bob Ross approach, but with a bit of a millennial spin to it. So the mission of Paint Minis Live, kind of our mission statement is to spread the good word and the things that we enjoy about hobbying to as many people as we can, both those who are in the hobby and those who aren't. But we're just trying to, I guess, bring the hobby to the light to the masses, so to speak, because I think there's a lot of positive things to be gained from not only painting miniatures, but just the community and the hobby in general. And that's basically Paint Minis Live in a nutshell.
This is such a fantastic hobby. We get to do so many other things at the same time. Even now, I'm finding out new things that I didn't know were connected to the hobby. what's your favorite like side effect, from this hobby?
Um, the reactions. I'm not gonna lie. The reactions have been a kind of a gateway drug to overloading myself with massive projects. Uh, when they get done and they're sent to whoever they're going to, the reactions are honestly pretty priceless. I love seeing the positive reception of something that I've had a hand in, and that's kind of a big thing. Another, I guess maybe side effect, to use your term, is seeing all of the people that have come from different places, or just organically come from YouTube, all commingling with each other in a really positive, kind of uplifting and happy manner altogether. I haven't had any problems with anybody interacting with each other. Gamers are some of the most polite people under the sun. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
we're a
until we
little
get into one of these chats and then we talk all over each other, which is
right.
something even I am guilty of, and I'm trying, folks. I really am. It's not easy, because when you get to my age, you think of something like really clever and you want to get it out there, and you're like, ah, crap! If I don't say something, I'm going to forget. What was I talking about? And then you get to where we are now. So, how did you get into the hobby?
Well, if I could, before I answer that, this is a prime example. Frost and Fists in the chat there. Frost and Fists is another kind of network that covers a lot of miniature painting stuff too. And I've been interacting with them, and we've kind of cross pollinated as well. But I would have never known about them had I had not started doing any of this at all. Which has just been fun. You meet so many new people. It's great. And then
Yeah.
to circle back around to your question, which was, sorry, I just really wanted to use them as an example because they're great guys.
Awesome. Do they have a channel?
Yeah, Frost and Fists. They're kind of a 40K centric painting channel.
All right, I'll hit them up later.
Yeah.
I sub to everybody, even if I don't watch it, regularly or something. My list of subs is crazy.
Well, those two guys are definitely up your alley. They're very antic driven. It's a now I believe a triad of really close knit friends, and they kind of have the same banter that you got going on with your own stuff here at Shadow and Sons. So I think you'll find them pretty enjoyable to talk with.
And they're texting awesome.
Yeah.
I'm heading to Texas as soon as I can, pull up stakes here. And so
I'm sorry, I totally lost the last question.
How'd you get into the hobby?
Oh, yeah, I think I've said this once or twice before, but I originally I had gotten a small comic book collection from my grandfather, which was a lot of Disney comic books that were not necessarily at like a high value or anything. Some people had, written their name in the cover and other things like that, which devalued them. But
things like that.
Sure, yeah, a lot of gold key stuff. Some Archies and other things like that. It's still just they were still worth a little bit of money, but it wasn't crazy numbers or anything. But I had no clue really what the value of these were. So I ended up, after trying to do some research myself, I ended up contacting a local comic book and gaming store. And I went to the store and I talked with the store owner. And literally right around the corner, time-wise, like within a couple of weeks, there was this sidewalk sale where all the local businesses would try and drum up some business by putting out stands or whatever on the sidewalk. And he was trying to gear up for that. But he didn't really have a ton of stuff for kids or anything that he could just hand out to kids. And a bunch of these comics, they're all kid-friendly comics that I brought in his banker's box. And so he said, hey, I'll tell you what, either you can have $100 in cash, or sorry, I think it was like $50 in cash or $100 in store credit. And you can go hog wild with whatever you want back there. If it comes somewhere near $100, give or take, 10, 20 or something like that, bring it up to the front. We'll check you out. It's on the house then. And so I was over the moon by it, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. I'll go look around, I guess. I've never really looked at any of this stuff before. I looked through some comic books and I was like, I'm trying to get rid of some of these comic books. I don't think I want to add more. And then I stumbled across this big wall of all these Warhammer miniatures, and I was like, that's cool. I tried painting a miniature, a plane at one point, a model plane, and it turned out pretty well. So I was like, well, I could probably do this. So I grabbed a box of these Chaos Space Marines, some brushes, a couple of different kinds of paint, went home, read a couple of things online and started painting them. And I just really fell in love. It was a very kind of Zen practice that I ended up getting into. And that's how my gateway into the hobby. And then I would go and game with them and meet folks down at the game shop for pickup games and things like that. I just fell into the nerddom. I was a square before, and it was just totally hooked after that.
So that is an awesome story, as Frost and Fizz says. Did you forget the glue?
Yes, I did forget the glue. I had to go to the hardware store. I just used super glue for my first minis, I had no clue about Tamiya, whatever the heck, and sprue goo or some of those more specialized stuff. I had to go get some super glue for it. But yeah, I did forget the glue.
And you're right. It really is kind of a Zen thing. I remember, I forget where it was. Maybe it was The Simpsons or something. Someone, some cartoon or something. They told him to make bird houses. Does that ring a bell? And to de-stress, just find a hobby like that. So the guys making bird houses, and this is like that. Whatever you got going on, you go to your station, whatever that is, a desk, kitchen top, dinner table, and just let it all go and just focus on the thing, whether you're painting or, modeling, or like me and the boy crafting, making something out of garbage and turn it into something really, cool. It's really got a really wonderful effect of calming you down and letting you decompress, maybe throw on your favorite tunes or whatever, podcast, or even a show, because I can't remember the last show I watched on TV, but YouTube with all my friends out there. There's a couple of channels that I listen to when I'm working by myself, which is starting to become rarer and rarer because I'm listening to guys like you instead of everybody wonders why I don't watch movies, or haven't seen all these movies, because I've been watching YouTube for the last 3 years straight. I can't even think of the last TV show or movie I watched, except for with this one show where we do review movies and what have you. So what are your favorite games?
I'm right there with you, man. I honestly, I had no clue what the YouTube thing would kind of entail. I was just trying to, get some stuff out there to, share with the world. But I had no clue how many hours of the day I'd spend checking up on people, just seeing what's up with them, trying to support them by doing all of the clicking around on the pages and stuff. And just viewing their things, and interacting with them. It's a lot of time. And I at this point, I couldn't justify cable if somebody came and said it was free, just because of the fact that there's so many good places to find good quality entertainment for no matter what you're into around here on YouTube.
Totally true. These guys in the chat are awesome.
Right. So what the let's see here.
So
what's my favorite games? Favorite games. Let's see. Magic I was really into for a long time. Obviously 40K is still still in the mix for me. I do enjoy some Warhammer. Dungeons and Dragons now is, since I've really gotten a huge warm welcome from that community. Dungeons and Dragons. I've started up my own game with my little niece. She's in high school. Perfect time to expose her to it.
That's awesome.
I yeah, and I've been playing Cairn. Let's see, I've got the book right here.
Sounds familiar.
Cairn by there's the cover art for it. But it's by Yochi Gale. There you go. You can see it on the back there. Yochi Gale. Really easy pick up and play RPG system. And I've been playing Conflict by Kyle Schwant over at the Dungeon Delver channel every Wednesday. I've been hooking up with Bill Sylvian, Kyle, and a bunch of other friends there and playing this game called Conflict. It's a really cool system, and it's catering towards kind of Cold War to modern day military kind of tactical shooter RPG with some investigative nuances in there. Very, very interesting homebrew game system. So,
is there any chance of it going to market?
Oh, it's already in market. It's on Drive Through RPG. You can find it on there. It's again Conflict by Kyle Schwant.
No, tell them to go over Biggest Geekus.
Yeah, and share with them, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
They'll do them a much better deal. And Joe and Randy are some of the greatest guys out there. They were, the first show I was ever on. And, as soon as you get a chance, do the same thing, pay it forward. You see somebody who wants to make a channel, bring them on your show and introduce them to all your friends and keep doing it. And you will never, ever, ever, ever run out of people to talk to. Do you ever watch your own videos? You ever watch your own videos?
I do. And it's mainly because I'm still kind of getting into the, the production side of stuff with YouTube. Between how do I actually get music into the stream? I've had some mess ups in the past that people might, if they're coming over to PML, you might see a couple technical hiccups or glitches and stuff. And you got to kind of take it on the chin, but I rewatch that stuff to just try and, at the end of the day, put together a bit better of a show and to kind of do that. Hey, what's up, mate? Wave of Mutilation. That's another guy from Dungeon Delver coming in. But yeah, I do watch them on occasion. The rest I just kind of let it go because I'm doing it live, and you can't really edit anything out of that. Otherwise, it's not really Paint Minis Live anymore. It's Paint Minis pre-recorded or whatever, So.
Our good friend James has a question for you. What do you use to make music? Guitar, Vox, PC, soft synths?
Yeah, that's a great question. I use a guitar, I use a PC and some software synthesizers. I have a pretty decent amount of hardware for music. I've got a 1960, I think it's 69 Gibson SG remake in cherry red, and then a Epiphone Dobro as kind of a practice guitar, round neck Dobro, and then some Rolly equipment for doing the actual like programming and stuff. And then Ableton Live for doing some of the video editing and the actual like composition of stuff. So that's what I've been using. So you just
been doing any collaborative work? We got a couple of fellow musicians out here in
Bring it on
family. James L does some good stuff. And every channel out there, in my opinion, if we could get you guys all to have your theme song, your music made by somebody in the community, that would be freaking a dream come true.
Right. Right. I've actually kind of, I've been scouting that out more and more. Kyle Schwant, the guy that I was talking about conflict, I'm actually going to be talking to him and saying, "Hey man, can I hire you up for some consultative work? Because I'd like to start a weights regiment." He does physical fitness training is his actual job. But he's in the community. I'd rather go to him than to go to,
That's something else. That's something else we all could use a little bit more of. He should do
right.
some. One of the, there's a couple of folks out there that do health and mental health for gamers. That might not be a bad thing. Get us all off our butts and do some exercise or whatever, especially for us old farts. Yeah, I love watching Brian and Mel too. Two of the funniest people out there. The way they interact with one another. Of course, James and his lady are also pretty hysterical, but they don't have a channel yet, and we need to keep poking at them.
Right.
Howdy, Grandma. Welcome to the show.
RPG
and
Grandma.
James already says you. James already says you can be his guitarist.
Yeah, nice. All right. Yeah. Well, hit me up. We'll have a jam session sometime. Put something cool together.
I also know young guitarist. My son's best friend is living with us, and for 18, he's pretty darn good. Back in the day, I couldn't. I was in a band myself, and it was so hard to find a musician. When you're doing covers, who could actually play the song all the way through. So it's a pet peeve of mine. It's like what can you play? Can you play it all the way through?
I'm not really at that level yet, so to speak. All my stuff's kind of still pre-recorded. I'm learning as I'm going a bit more. I'm looking for a guitar teacher. So if anybody out there is interested in doing blues and rock guitar, let me know. I'll pay you good money because I'd really like to learn it.
Well, James says he says he thinks he's a hack, but I'm told I'm a good MIDI programmer. Patch programs. Nice. I think that's a typo.
Yeah.
Program. I'm old. Give me a break, James.
Hey, I mean, if it gets you to the end product, that's what's important.
Welcome to the show, Cal. You should have jumped in last night, man. I know.
Cal's great to talk to. He's a wealth of knowledge.
Really I know. And like I was telling you before the show, Cal and Grim to See are the guys who drilled it into my head to go talk to the big channels, Legion of Myth and Biggest Geekus, and there's some of the other folks out there, and I'm going to owe him a big one. I don't know how I'm going to get him back, but I am going to get him back. My son
one of these days, right?
Do it the same way, if you know what I mean. What rave? I'm down.
Very nice, very nice.
I was one of the vanishing rare fitness nerds. James L, I need Discord handle. Okay.
My Discord handle, or
no, James L.
Oh, gotcha.
Well, you guys can all one way or the other after the show. If you want to come and hit me up, I'll hook everybody else up with each other. And one of these days when I hold ShadowCon in 2025, we'd all get to meet and you guys can be the music for the con.
Heck
when you're not busy playing. I don't want to put you to work too much, but
Heck yeah, I'd love to.
Because that's one thing I've never seen at a con. Wow, you guys are going crazy in the chat. Is music. Every once in a while, there's like some really cool band, but 90% of the cons I've ever gone to, no music. It's
just a hall with a bunch of people talking, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So here's a question for you. You have a Shadow and Sons Discord then, like a server for it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I gotta go join that.
Yeah, it's Shadow and Sun #1906. And
gotcha.
Anybody out there who's not already there, and James L is Cavalier 1984. You want to write that down?
Gotcha. Shadow.
Okay, James, I am not highlighting that.
And then his is Cavalier. What's the
1984.
84? All right, got it. Cool.
That was a good year, James. Yeah, I'm not highlighting that. So how often do you get to game?
How often do I get to game? I game about twice a week. I run one game, I play another. For role playing so far. I had a bit of a move a couple years back. I moved from my hometown to where I am now in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. And I haven't really found a place to call home yet for gaming. I just because I'm still new to the area and getting my feelers out there, but I'm honestly, I've kind of just been having fun doing it virtually for the most part. I mean, I still want to find a place to go wargaming at, but
Right. I recommend, in the beginning, look for a library or a game shop and keep it away from home until you really connect with some folks. Because believe it or not, I actually love being able to game online. It's cleaner, it's quicker. You don't have any issues, and if somebody gets mad, they just click off, or if you don't get along or something like that, which I've never really seen. I've heard about it, but you could just
right. You don't have to wait for their ride to get there and then just sit there in awkward silence after some kind of disagreement. And it's at your house too.
Or of them knowing where you live, and next thing you know, you got flaming bags of poo on your doorstep, or toilet paper in keys, or pizzas being delivered at odd hours.
Right. From people who didn't necessarily make their wisdom saving throw.
No worries, Cal. We will get you. We'll get you in. You got to break out of your shell, man, and hang out with us. Before it's too late. So. Oops. Somebody tried to message me. Do you have any other hobbies that are not game related or music related, things you do that you like to share with the folks at home, and maybe there's other folks that into that?
Well, I have I kind of have a plethora of hobbies, and it seems like that's a growing a pretty decent theme with a lot of people that I've seen you talk to. Is like they're always into like a ton of stuff, and from all over the place. Nerds into 3D sculpting and cars and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I would say I'm pretty close to the same thing. I enjoy gaming. I really have a good time playing some games with friends online with the
much of a video gamer.
Games. Yeah, I also a lot of this stuff bleeds together. I mean, music is pretty separate, but even then, doing music for YouTube or doing music for somebody else's YouTube or that kind of bleeds together. The Horde of the Damned project that I just finished up for the Dungeon Minister, who's been running a Beckme game for his two boys and his wife. He's an actual minister. He's hilarious. It's great fun. But he was on one of my first streams, and I just threw it out there as a conversation piece. And I was like, hey, what's your favorite monster or whatever from Dungeons and Dragons, just to get some people talking. And he was like, skeletons. So once I finished up with the Dragon project, I ended up getting like 30 skeletons together, and I painted them all up, and I was like, this looks great, but I don't know how I'm going to ship this to him and guarantee that these little bits aren't going to break off. So then I started getting into laser cutting and engraving, and I have a machine sitting next to me now to do all of that. And then I thought, what would be really great is after a couple of years, maybe I can, make a gaming table and sell really cool gaming tables and stuff. So then I ended up going and buying a 4x8 CNC machine to do woodworking on, to make really cool like custom relief carvings and stuff into game tables. So a lot of woodworking stuff I've been into, dealing with stuff with computers too. I'm really into doing PC builds and stuff for gaming.
We first met over at Dungeon Minister's site, didn't we? His channel.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
it was only like a couple of weeks ago when he was doing that unboxing from Dirty Terrain, I think.
Yeah, Lawrence's channel, Dirty Basement Terrain, right? Yep. Right. Yeah, I think that's where I first saw you too.
Now you mentioned cars. Tell us about that.
Oh, well, I'm not super into cars like Nerds is. I was kind of using Nerds as an example, but I do have a project car. It's a 1967 or 68 Volkswagen Beetle convertible.
Oh man, if you would have said Mustang, I would have just went nuts. That's my car.
There you go. Yeah, no, I don't have anything fancy like that, but this one was kind of cool. It's got a souped up racing engine in it from the previous owner, and it's in really nice condition. So I'm looking forward to working on that probably next springtime. I'm going to be working on that car. So that's those are kind of my hobbies in a nutshell. Yeah, I'll send you some.
So sci-fi or fantasy? What do you prefer?
Well, I mean, that's a loaded question. That's a loaded gun right there. I love both of them, to be honest. They both have their own charms and really cool quirks about them. What about yourself? Sci-fi or fantasy? Now I gotta ask you.
Sci-fi. I got my gaming teeth cut on fantasy because back in the day there was very, very little sci-fi. But I got into the hobby because of my love of comic books and Doc Savage and The Shadow, all the pulp things that my old man got me into, the Planet of the Apes and all the good 70s sci-fi movies. And it wasn't until my dad opened up his gun shop and there was this shop, this comic book and cinema shop, and I started seeing, that there was this stuff called fantasy. 1977 was the year of the heavy metal magazine, John Carter in comic books, Conan in comic books that was already out in the magazines, and things like Micronauts, and it was just Star Wars, of course. It was just a great year, but I was introduced to fantasy, and then a couple of years later, my friends are like playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm like, what's that? And the rest is more or less history. Is there a game out there you've been dying to sink your teeth into, but just haven't yet?
Like all of them. I mean, honestly, I'm a pretty new nerd. Like I had just kind of popped out of the turtle shell from the one singular, Games Workshop thing recently, since like 2020 was when I started like paying attention to other game systems and stuff that was like happening. And it was mainly because I started watching this YouTube stuff and thinking to myself, hey, I could share this with the world too. What I'm doing. I think that would be really fun. And I started taking it more seriously, and then it just like totally cascaded. I think it's Kings of War. I've been looking at kind of really cool, another skirmish game. That zombie side that Mini Warmutt has been showing off looks really cool. I'd really love to get a chance to do some of that stuff. That's really interesting. Other things that I've wanted, bolt action, or like those World War II ones look fun. If I was gonna pick a World War II one, I don't even know if I would go like bolt action. I'd probably go for like Conflict 76, or I think it's called Dust, something like that, where it's like alternate sci-fi.
That's one of Brian's biggies, I think, if not his his favorite game that isn't like his own thing going on.
I
I
actually
love
learned about
the
Dust
game.
from. Sorry about that.
No worries. Yeah, I learned about it from Brian as well. I mean, I've seen stuff when I'm looking for miniatures. I'm like, that stuff looks really, really cool. But then I saw the price tag, and I'm like, but not that cool. I'm just not. I'm not paying $50 for a model these days. And now it looks like I'm not going to have to with 3D printing. Uh, just it's going to change the face of the gaming universe as far as I'm concerned. Um, unless something really bad happens. So hey man, what's your favorite album?
For like 3D printing and stuff like that, I kind of take the stance that if you're a game company that that truly appreciates its players, puts out a good product, and generally has decent PR, most of the time gamers are just going to be willing to support you to continue playing your system and to have better iterations of it at the end of the day. And yes, they will 3D print your models, but I mean, if you put out larger models or, just kind of special models that are maybe tricky to 3D print or whatnot, I mean, people are just going to support you by getting stuff like that, stuff they can't make themselves. And I think those companies, I think they're starting to wake up to some of that, and they're starting to produce more detailed models in response to the fact that 3D printing has gotten to the point where their old molds are just not cutting it really anymore, because people can recreate that at home pretty easily for almost nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But for miniature and model games, and just companies even that are producing stuff like paints, I'll go to these companies specifically for the fact that I think they make good stuff. They're friendly to deal with. If I have a problem, I know that they'll fix it or do something about it. And I'm more than happy to spend my money there. And it's just, plain old business. I don't think the manufacture of models is going away, but I think companies have to change their stance on how they treat their players and their customers.
Let's hope. I mean, 3D printing's been out for a while, and some of the big companies don't seem to notice. But I think that's going to change, especially over the course of the next year. That's my prediction. And when scanner technology gets to a certain point, it's going to make it so even the newbie can just go, yeah, I like this miniature and I want 50 of them.
Yep. Yeah,
that's what I'm waiting for. I have such a huge, Cal and I both have such huge collections of old minis that you can't find anymore. Some of them, we may be the only ones who own this particular miniature within 1,000 miles or more. And as soon as I can do that,
yeah,
really weird shit.
There is, I'll go hunting for it again, but I did see a article released. There is a laser scanner for basically small objects and miniatures that's out for actually pretty affordable price for what it does. It's very high detail. You basically don't have to go in and fix much of the model at all. If when you do this procedure with it, but I think the price point is like $500. It's expensive, but like if you're going to do something like scan those and maybe sell them on the side or, under the table or something, I'm sure you can make your money back on it pretty freaking quick.
Guaranteed. I mean, even, I paid $700 for my Snapmaker One. And that was a few years ago when it first came out. The first Betamaxes and things like that were $1,000 VCRs. The price will come down quick. And even if you bought into it now, $500, yeah, I could spend a month scanning miniatures and still not even come close to getting them all.
To respond to James' comment here, how about Jutland am I am I not a Grognar if I haven't played Jutland? Because I'd like to play Jutland. I've heard that's like one of those really old war games too.
Hey, now I resemble this remark, James.
Grow a beard, buy books, and make a channel. It's the natural progression.
The last couple of months is I bought a crap ton of books.
What books did you buy? What you been?
I've been getting back into comic books. I also picked up Avengers Satanis's Chalt book number 3. If you're a D&D guy, Chalt is just oh my god, I love it. The funniest stuff on printed that I've read in decades. And if you're into Gonzo, just anything kind of goes. He's a great guy, and yeah, I'll be buying his stuff till the end of time.
That's pretty cool.
Brian says Dust and Conflict. I'm pretty sure he's meant to spell conflict. 47. Yeah, see, there he goes.
Yeah. My favorite album, AC/DC's Back in Black.
Really?
Yeah. When I was a kid, CD players were just hitting the scene. And my dad had like a collection of maybe 5 CDs, and then for Christmas they got me a CD player and like the soundtrack to Lion King. And I mean, I was really young. I couldn't give you a number, but I was probably like 6, 7 or whatever. I was still in like elementary school, but they gave me a CD player. Well, one night, really late at night, I was like, Dad's got CDs. And I have this CD player now, and I'm pretty sure like I can just put different CDs in here. It's not just the one. They all look kind of the same. I went downstairs, and the first thing I pulled out was AC/DC's Back in Black, and I brought it back upstairs with me. And, my exposure to music was, pretty tame at that point. My parents weren't really, they didn't listen to a ton of really hard stuff when I was, with them. But then I brought this thing upstairs, stuck it in the CD player, it spooled up, and I just remember the sound of that was staggering. I was like, oh my god, this is so cool. It sounds like a thunderstorm or something. I was totally blown away by it. My dad never found where that CD ever went. It eventually got lost way later on down the line, but that one CD, he was like, oh my god, where did I put that? And eventually I was like, yeah, I stole that from you when I was like 6. Sorry, but I did.
So are you a big AC/DC fan now, or did you move on to other stuff?
I have a pretty varied taste in music personally, but AC/DC still remains one of my all-time favorite bands, and I think it's probably from that exposure point there that they're such a big part of my music kind of I guess base of music that I've listened to throughout the years.
The one of the cover bands I was in back in the day, the guitarist and bass player brothers, that was their favorite band, and I saw AC/DC probably 10 different times, but never with Bon Scott. And I don't know if you're much of a Bon Scott fan.
Oh yeah.
That guy had some serious character.
He did. I love them both, to be honest. Both Brian and Bon are 2 really iconic singers for the band, and I think I'm happy they both were there. It's tragic for one, great for another, but it's I'm happy they both had a kick in the AC/DC discography. It's just always been a goal of mine to get to both the theory point and the playing point of that band. Mainly just because a lot of people say every AC/DC song sounds the same, and in a way they're kind of right, but there's a lot of theory that went into that. Those guys knew what they were doing, and so
their first albums, weren't I'm not going to say they were bad. They were
soul searchy for sure. They were looking for their sound. They eventually found it, but yeah, the first ones are kind of a bit meh.
really, Robert. I don't know, man. When I got Blue Oyster Cult's Imaginos album, which was one of the very first CDs ever, it was just there were so many layers, so many tracks, so much going on. I'm like, how can music get any better than this? And I didn't find that it did much. But if you've never heard Blue Oyster Cult's Imaginos and you want something, Brian, you'd love it. It's freaking weird as hell. The weirdest album they ever did. And it's all about World War II, believe it or not. I don't know why I haven't had this discussion with you before.
Well,
thanks.
What about you, Shadow? What's your musical go
to? Cult, man. Blue Oyster Cult.
Yeah.
That's
there you go. There you
Since
go.
I was 14, I'm a metalhead. I was in a lot of metal bands. Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Blue Oyster Cult, that sort of thing. Don't get me wrong, I like a lot of different types of music, but that to the hair, it's right there,
That definitely isn't a calling card. No, not at all. Not at all.
No. Believe it or not, before the channel, like the first video I think in the channel, I actually had short hair. I haven't had a haircut since we started the channel. Then the thing came along where you couldn't go and get your hair cut by somebody, and I'm like, screw it, I'm going back to long hair. So hey, if you could make any kind of character your like your dream fantasy or sci-fi role-playing game character, what would it be? Like an elf, a paladin, a dwarf, a wizard, starship trooper? Do you have that ideal character that you've been just dying to play, and no GM out there will hook you up?
Oh, to be honest, I haven't ran into a point where somebody was like, "Oh yeah, no, you can't really play that." I played a dwarf back in the day that eventually had to leave a group because I guess he was just a bit too outlandish. But it was his name was Neckbeard the Savage, and he was yeet. His name was Neckbeard the Savage, and he was a dwarf that was a alcoholic. He was kind of bigoted towards like elves and halflings and stuff. He always had his iconic horn of bottomless valor, where he would drink out of the horn and it would be like beer or whatever lighter alcoholic refreshment. But if he handed it to anybody else or like started to dump it out, it would turn into sand. Which got him out of a couple of different sticky situations with like water elementals and stuff. He'd just pour sand right into the puddle, displace all the water. So, but yeah, he was definitely the comic relief of that group. They were very staunch role players. There wasn't much room for comedy in there. So if I could go back in time, I'd love to give Neckbeard the Savage another try. What about yourself? What's some of the outlandish characters from the past, or just characters that you haven't played yet? What about yourself?
I played so many games. One of my favorite genres to play, believe it or not, is actually superheroes, which I find absolutely amazing that's not, D&D and other fantasy RPGs have always been, the 800-pound gorilla for whatever reason, but we don't live in that era. It's been a long time since we lived in that era. And, a huge portion of the people that play Dungeons and Dragons and fantasy RPGs have no clue what it was really like, either from lack of studying history or exposure to that sort of thing, other than, maybe watching Lord of the Rings. You can kind of extrapolate, but it always struck me as funny that superhero games, which, you know, you go to the theater in the last 10 years, you can't swing a dead cat without bumping into a superhero movie. Everybody
Right.
knows what it's all about. You would think that that would be, you know, but it's never been the case. It's always been like, you know, D&D, sci-fi, Call of Cthulhu, hell, even Western gets more love than superhero games in some circles I've been in. It's just nobody wants to do it, and I'm like, why? I can see how maybe the power level is too much for some DMs, you know, because a lot of DMs, you know, they're still stuck in that, you know, first to 10th level fantasy, you know, power level. That, you know, you get to 10th level, you retire because it's too hard for me to DM. And for me, I played so much of those kinds of games that it allowed me to be able to run any kind of game with any character, and it's not going to be a big deal, you know. Oh,
Right.
so you can lift the planet, okay? Yeah, but what about your girlfriend? Where's she right now, huh? You know, that sort of, you know, the
Right.
Jimmy thing, or you know, stuff like that. I'll find a challenge for you. You know, don't you worry about it. I was telling, I don't know if it was Bear or somebody else earlier today. I've literally run games where I had characters from different games. Like I got a character from a Traveler game coming in with some D&D characters, some Palladium characters. They're all in the same party. So, you know, I was, you know, okay, for you, you need to roll a D6, but you need to roll a D8, you need to roll a D20 or whatever, you know, using different rules at the same time to just to be able to get my friends in. They all wanted to play their favorite character. And I'm like, well, but this guy don't want to run Traveler and this guy don't want to play D&D. Well, you know what? Let's just squish them all together, pretend it's a, you know, a superhero, you know, portal rift sort of game thing going on before Palladium came around. And yeah, I absolutely love Heroes Unlimited. Palladium's a fun system, but over the years it got just harder and harder to do the combat for me. I wanted something a little simpler, you know, doing all the weird, you know,
I've really
dodging.
been I've really been enjoying James F. Keck has a module that runs off of the 4CX system for superheroes. And I believe Marvel had is what he bases it off of, but it's a system called 4CX. And you can find his stuff on Drive Through RPG as well from Keck Publishing. But he has some, and I played a little bit of his superhero stuff. It's cool. It is cool. Like,
Can you
and
send me a link in Discord and I'll share it with the folks?
yeah, I will. I'm currently on his Discord looking for where he has his Lulu. Let me see. I will actually maybe just grab it. The link
I've
right
never been
now.
able to get Lulu to print anything for me. I don't know what's going on over there. And yes, I loved Villains and Vigilantes, Palladium. I've got Big Eyes, Small Mouth. I used to have Superhero 44, 2044, I think it was called, the first superhero game ever. I will get that back in my collection because, like a dummy, sold it on eBay for $10, thinking, "Oh, this is crap. It'll never be worth anything." And sure enough, it's worth a pretty penny now.
Now I'm hoping this works out.
Thanks,
Where do
James.
you want it, just sent over Discord or just right into the
Yeah,
chat
yeah,
here?
yeah. Just regular Discord.
Okay. All right. I don't know why people are, some people don't really want to approach that that superhero setting. I mean, to me, it just makes it so that the story elements, they hit even harder because now you're dealing with, it's just like magic users and stuff in Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, they have their limitations. So do the superhero guys. It's just that world is a bit more the stakes can get even higher. Then you're not talking about just a village anymore. It's an entire city
And
of
the day-to-day
millions.
survival is a lot easier in a superhero game until you throw them in outer space or back in time or something like that. And it was the ultimate way to, especially, if you get bored easy, like you're tired of D&D and you want to play some sci-fi, but the players don't. You're just like, well, guess what? Guess what's happening next week? You guys
I
are going
just
to
dropped
another planet.
I just dropped that link for you in your Discord there.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
And for Frost and Fist, talking about the super strength style characters being a little hard to balance, make them be the tank. If there's like other people in the party that are kind of more in a supporting role, best thing you can do is mess with the supporting role characters, because then you're forcing that person to go and deal with the shenanigans you're putting on, and make their life busy. Which is kind of it requires a different mindset, I think in those kinds of settings.
Well, I think part of it is that because everybody sort of cuts their teeth and gets their start in Dungeons and Dragons, they don't know how to go beyond that when it comes to the rules and that sort of thing. I know there are a lot of people out there that don't like the superhero thing. I'm not a big fan of capes and tights either. That's why Heroes, the TV show Heroes, did you ever get a chance to watch that?
I vaguely remember a little bit.
That's why I liked it so much, because it was just, regular folks with superpowers, but they were always wearing their jeans and their t-shirts, or, their sport coat or whatever. There was a few minor instances. I think there was one or two characters that maybe wore tights, but it was as a joke. But I love that idea of, the superpowers, but you're the whole time you're trying to hide it. You're not trying to that sort of thing. In a modern setting, what would you do if you could fly? Suddenly you wake up and you could fly. Would you put it on a suit, or would you only do it at night so nobody ever saw you? You know what I mean? And think about it a little bit more realistically and down to earth. Yeah, superhero fashion is in need of a makeover big time. Or they would wear things like, motocross armor or something like that, so that, they don't look
something to blend.
Something, that's not wearing the underwear on the outside, which, comes from back in the circus days of the turn of the previous century, where, the trapeze artists and the high wire guys were wearing things like that, so you could see them and they would stand out, and it got swiped by the superhero genre, and it definitely needs a makeover.
Personally, I kind of think that's why superheroes like Iron Man or whatever got really popular. They stand out really hard from, that kind of aesthetic that everybody thinks of as that iconic superhero stuff.
James L., one of these days, if you get the time, go find Heroes. You and your lady sit down and watch it, and you'll see what I mean. It doesn't have to be like that. It can be actually more about the characters and not like the super villain of the week or the month or whatever. There was, their own lives were their own worst enemies. The Thing wearing a trench coat. Yeah, that's another good example. But maybe in January I'll do some superhero stuff and do some chats like that. I got some other things planned for next year. But what have you got planned? What's in the future for you, man?
Oh, I was gonna just ask that question. Dang, you beat me to it. All right, I'll do mine first, but then you got to do yours. You got to give me a little crumb of what's in store for the future, Shadow and Sun. All right.
Okay.
So for Paint Minis Live, we're currently working on a project for Cal Vanoni, one of our longtime viewers. He sent me some dwarves and some orcs to paint out of his collection, and I couldn't be more thrilled and grateful to Cal for sending me these minis to paint up, because I really am excited to be a part of his collection. I have really been enjoying working on them. It's been a bit of a challenge to get some of the time together for it. I've just kind of been busy with some other stuff going on in life outside of gaming. That is in painting, that's kind of hit some roadblockers here. But so we're going to finish up with Cal's project. Another viewer, TJ, is really interested in getting a observer oh man, I always butcher the name. Isn't an observer the one with the googly eyes on top sprouting out of its head?
Well, that's one of the branches of the beholders, I think you're talking
Beholder, yeah, a beholder. That's right. Not the observer is the smaller one, if I remember right. Yeah, I always forget the difference between the two. But everybody will tell me the name if I just tell them it looks like Meatwad with some googly eyes hanging out the top.
Love Meatwad.
Gotta love him. I'm still wondering who stole his VCR and why is it in the gutter. But so we're going to be doing a commission project for TJ. Is going to be the first for the channel on commissions, and I'm super grateful to have that. The next big thing that is really big for the channel is selling the Paint Minis Live box of holding, and I think I had shown this to you on your the first paint stream that I was on a couple weeks ago. But we're going to be, I'm hoping to produce 1 box a month over the course of the next year to be sold at the holiday time next year as kind of a art project kind of thing, and but with a function, so to speak. So each one of them is going to have their own kind of theme to it. Maybe a nautical one, and another one might be caves or dungeons or something like that. And trying to work on ideas for that to become a reality. And I'm hoping to do that by the end of next year to, I guess, get some seed money to eventually hire a 3D artist, maybe nerds if they're up for it, to do some custom minis for Paint Minis Live for people to come in and buy some legitimately affordable minis to practice painting on and stuff. Sell little kits or something like that. So that people can get into the hobby a bit easier.
Don't forget, the milestones. When we hit milestones, I knew as soon as we started doing this that I wanted to do giveaways, to give back to all the wonderful people out there that have helped us out, and the new folks that come in. Think about, doing, even if they're small things, giveaways, like with what you did with us. When you hit a milestone, it's so much fun when you have people watching and you do some sort of raffle or something like that. Some of our favorite episodes have been when we've given stuff back out to our friends and family out there, just for sticking with us all these years, which it seems like forever, but it's only been 3 years. But when you look back on your first year of doing this, trust me, it's surreal when you think about what happened, in this digital space over the course of a year or 2 or 3, or for some of our friends 10 years.
I think I've done one giveaway so far, and that was with the Dragon Project. When I was priming that one, I did a giveaway for Warhammer Underworlds. It was a fantasy single contained box game or whatever, kind of board game style deal. I have done that in the past. I'm trying to cook up some more ideas that are a bit more economically feasible, I guess.
Well, believe it or not, for me, it seems like a kind of a no-brainer. You're a really accomplished painter, sending something that was painted by you. A lot of people have asked us, even though we're not that great at it, I'd love to get a painted mini by you. And I've had the same thought with other people that I've watched, growing up here, that, God, I would love for so-and-so to paint me a miniature so I could put it up on my shelf of honor, going, this was made by, or painted by so-and-so, and have it, to treasure, so to speak,
right.
as long as I'm given that opportunity. So that would be a cheap, thing, or maybe, you could just get them to send it to you and then you paint it.
Heck yeah. Well, that's kind of what I'm doing with Cal's stuff. I mean, I haven't had anybody else really approach me with, hey, you wanna paint this mini yet? But I'm always open to people contacting me if I've got room in the schedule to fit you in. I'll even do it on the house. It's just content for the YouTube machine, you know, and it's fun to do too. People like it. It's great to see people's reaction to the artwork, and to just do it for the fun of doing it too. You know, it's great. It's great.
Absolutely. And someday when you're not doing this and you're old and gray, and you look back on those things on your shelf or what have you, hey Raven, how you doing? And you see something like that, trust me, it will make it all have been worth the the trials and tribulations, the internet down issues, and those bad episodes where people's equipment come in, and you get the echoes or the other glitches and stuff. All those little headaches will just be like nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that point. So you're doing a convention in the future, huh?
Yep.
Because I was gonna ask, can PML get some booth space? Do we? I don't know if you get something like that.
Oh yeah,
but like
yeah. If you
I'm
want
able to
down,
make it, I'd love to bring folding table in the mobile paint studio and do some paints up there.
Do you actually have a mobile setup?
Oh yeah. I've had that thing for a couple of years now. I have an extra airbrush spray booth, a couple of really nice LED hangover strip lamps.
Okay.
The airbrush compressor.
Show us how you did. Our friend Squirrel Hermit, he travels all over the place and brings his, 3 big bags, when he's staying at the hotels, and that's what he does, when he's sitting there, by himself waiting for, the next day to go back to work at these jobs that he travels at. Do a video for us and show us what you bring, because you'd be amazed at what painters and crafters and will see, like, oh, what is that? I want one of those. Ninjon did a video this morning on, a bunch of new pieces of equipment that he's picked up over the last year or whatever that, really helped him out. And I saw at least 3 there that like, I suddenly can't live without that particular piece of equipment. So
I've got all my. Yeah, I'll definitely I'll do a specialty video on the mobile studio, but I have all of the equipment that I use for painting, like anything that wasn't just like brushes or paint. Well, I think I even did put brushes and paints in there, but it's over on the Paint Minis Live Discord under a chat channel called Tools of the Trade. And I went through and I took all of the stuff that I use or would really recommend for somebody starting out to paint. Potentially taking a look at, or just cool knickknacks that are quality of life stuff. Like a nail lacquer shaker, if you've ever heard of that, a nail lacquer shaker that they use at like nail salons and stuff. Pick yourself up one of those for like $20 from Amazon, and it will save your wrist like no tomorrow, especially when
I've actually got one of the lab versions for the test tubes.
The little tornado thing. Yeah.
The vortex or what have you. On my Christmas list, I'm pretty sure Santa Claus is gonna
pull through on that one.
Yeah. They're only like $40. I've heard the nail polish ones are they break down quicker and aren't as good. I'm like, okay, I'll go a little. It's only double the price, on Amazon, and I'd rather have something that I know. And then of course you got to do as Ninjon does, is put 2 googly eyes on it, so that every time you use it, the eyes are like wiggling, having a little seizure. Because we'll learn stuff by watching what you use. Because even if you don't show us it, and we go, oh, I know what that is, we'll go, oh, that's a good idea. Now, how do I use it? And then we'll figure it out on our own. Or you could, show us your tips and tricks for, different tools and techniques and things like that you have.
Heck yeah.
It's all good content, and somebody out there will pick up on it, and you'll save them, like you said, carpal tunnel surgery. They won't have to get it because you taught them something, or
That would be the biggest gold star ever, man. Is like, yeah, I totally didn't have to get surgery because you told me about this cheap little device on Amazon. That would be like a crowning achievement right there. That would
Having had
be
the surgery, yes, trust me, it's not a big deal. But when they gave me the surgery for some completely unrelated thing, it is. But I'm gonna have to hit the road here because I do have a game shortly. But you asked, what am I doing this year? This
yeah.
isn't moldy but a goodie. It's top secret from TSR. It was at the time a 1980s game about being a spy in the modern
Oh,
world,
cool. Cool.
espionage, and it had a crap ton of expansions and modules. And then they had a second edition, and I am going to go deep diving into it. I've been doing the Raven Loft, and I'm going to do one other thing before the end of the year, and then I'm just going to do spies and spy versus spy kind of thing until I can't take it no more. And then I'm going to keep doing it and just knock it all out. Just talk about espionage and all that cool stuff, and trying to do it. If I was going to play a game like that now, would I set it back in the 80s, which was one of my favorite eras to be alive, or would I do it in, like Brian would say, no, do it in the 1940s, 1930s, damn it, could do it. Or would I do it, in the year 2050, move it up a little bit, or what have you. But just, the whole espionage thing, for personal reasons. And it was always fun to watch, James Bond and Maxwell Smart, and, even Inspector Gadget was a spy of sorts. There's some spy guy or gal out there that you probably loved growing up. And that's what I'm going to be doing. I hope you guys will enjoy it. I hope you guys will go and just give Bill here all kinds of support as much as you can muster. Go borrow your girlfriend's phone and sub to him. No, I'm kidding. Just whatever you can do, to share out his content, and hit him up in the Discord or in his comment section and start conversations, and get to know him. He's a great guy. I wouldn't have had him on the show if it wasn't otherwise. I'm a very, very good judge of character, and I've yet to misjudge anybody. I think that's a safe guess. From my previous experience, I had to get to know people really, really well, and and put little clues together. Part of the PI thing, you gotta really pay attention to your surroundings and the people you're dealing with, and you, my friend, are going to go really far in this hobby and in this world. Whatever you choose to do, my friend, you are gonna make some waves. And I can't wait to be able to say, yeah, I knew him way back when. Trust me, the greatest thing you can do is just go out there and be successful. Same as all of our friends out there. Whatever you guys are doing, do it, enjoy it, be good to each other, and of course, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thanks for having me on, Shadow. I really appreciate the opportunity. And have a great game, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I will. We're getting a Starship tonight.
Oh, there you go.
We've been playing for 9 months looking for a ship of our own. And
there we go. There we go. Are you going to put up some posters in the engine bay? Gotta deck it out, right? All right.
Everybody in the chat, thank you guys for showing up. Raven, I'm sorry you just got here. I don't know what it is with notifications. Other folks who came in late, thank you for showing up. Just go back and rewind it. This was a great show. Bill's a great guy. We all had a great conversation. He brought a lot of his friends over. I'd love to hear from you guys, in the comment section later. If you have any questions about Bill, and if you guys got me on Discord, hit me up there after the game. I'll get back to you. I'll share the information. But I've literally got 15 minutes to do some DM stuff and then become a player. I've been waiting all week for it, folks. Love you guys. Happy trails.